Hi and welcome to Z Games. Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane and broadcast nationally over the Community Radio Network, Z Games brings you the latest gaming news, reviews and interviews from across Australia and around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Z Games, Australia's most beloved gaming radio show. We are broadcasting to you live from the 4ZZZ Studios. And we are broadcast around the nation, care of the Community Radio Network. I am Lee. Joining me in the studio this evening, my captain, Mr. Razor.
Hey there.
How's it going?
Very well.
You like video games?
Indeed so.
Excellent.
Very much.
You should be on this show. And for this episode, we have a very special guest because everyone else is sick or dead or leaving the country or something. Sean, our intern.
It's great to know how much you value me.
He's very, very young, listeners. I must warn you. So
yes.
He's going to say, he'll drop some lingo, some slang. You may have to look it up on the internet.
Yes, I'll try and speak slowly for the old people in the room.
Yeah. Say one of your young person words, Sean.
YOLO.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Woozle wuzzle. It's embarrassing, really. But yes, the youthful energy is just radiating off him.
I can see you getting younger already.
Yeah. Thank you. So, look out for that guy.
We've got a great show for you guys. First up, the reason Sean is here is that he has been playing a game called Heroes of the Storm. Right, Sean?
Yes, I've been somehow granted access to the technical alpha, so I'm going to give a bit of a first impressions, because I've been spending quite a bit of time playing that game recently. That's mostly what I've been playing.
It is a MOBA, a young man's game.
Yes, like the Dotas and the League of Legends.
Yeah.
It's Blizzard Dota, essentially. That's the best way of putting it. It's aiming for a slightly different market than the hardcore Dota 2 players or the competitive League of Legends players, and that's really why it's interesting me.
Save it for your segment. You know, you're getting eager.
Just teasing.
Yeah, all right.
And Lee, you have also been playing one of the bigger releases of this year, The Sims 4.
That's right, and I have recreated the Z Games crew, and I will tell you of their exploits later on in the show.
Looking forward to that.
See, that's how that's done.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But let's kick this episode off with the week in gaming news headlines. Intern, would you like to do the honors?
Indeed. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, Microsoft is in serious discussions to purchase Minecraft studio Mojang. The deal is reportedly worth somewhere in the vicinity of $2 billion. Representatives for both companies have declined to comment.
What do we think about that?
Interesting.
You don't turn down $2 billion.
I sure as hell wouldn't.
You do whatever they say for $2 billion.
Surely Notch is rich enough after the whole Minecraft thing being Minecraft.
No. Now, you know what's cool? What's cooler than like $100 million is
$2 billion.
Yeah. Like, he has a lot of money, but he's...
Not on that level yet, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's particularly interesting given Notch's comments about Facebook buying out Oculus Rift for, $1 billion or something like that. He had a version of Minecraft in store for the Oculus Rift, but then he revoked that. He chose to stop development on that because he thought that Oculus Rift being owned by Facebook was like some big shady thing that he didn't want to be a part of.
In fact, he commented at the time, someone was saying, hey, you don't turn down like $2 billion. You don't do that ever. And his actual comments were, I've turned down that kind of money before.
Not this time.
I wonder what they give him a unicorn or something as well.
So that is just a grapevine kind of thing, right? We haven't had any official statements from either company, so we'll see how that develops.
Yeah, we might be liars, and if that's the case, we'll apologize next week.
Somehow it'll be my fault.
He said it.
No, you won't.
EA has confirmed that hackers gained access to the FireMonkeys forums in September 2013. Up to 40,000 usernames and passwords were included in the hacked data. A source speaking to Kotaku has said that EA chose not to inform users of the hack at the time, instead issuing a statement saying that the forums were temporarily down for maintenance.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah,
That's no
pretty
good.
dodgy.
You let people know that their passwords have been suddenly violated.
Mm.
Yeah.
What I want to know is why they waited until almost exactly a year afterwards.
well, they didn't necessarily do it by choice. The only reason that this information is out is because someone in the know chose to leak it to Kotaku. If they hadn't have done that, EA probably wouldn't have made any statement at all, which is the troubling thing.
Yeah.
Because it's more than just having access to those forum accounts, because
it.
most people share their passwords, you know, so it could have pretty far-reaching consequences.
That's right.
Well, for slackers like me who have one password for absolutely everything, you know, if
Ray
someone...
rocks 1, 2, 3.
Pretty much. If you got one of my passwords, you got them all. So if someone's stolen that password, I'd like to know about it. Thank you very much.
Listeners, if you have stolen Ray's password, please tweet us or hit us up on the Facebook.
It ain't worth much anyway.
CD Projekt Red, Disney, Ubisoft, and Zynga are among the high-profile developers that have pledged support for the iPhone 6, which was unveiled this week at a conference in California. Members of studio Super Evil Megacorp were welcomed on stage to demonstrate gameplay of a MOBA title in development called Vainglory. The iPhone 6 will begin shipping to the US later this month. A larger version of the iPhone 6 was also announced, the iPhone 6 Plus, that will feature a larger screen of 5.5 inches.
That thing's the size of a boat. Have you seen the pictures of him holding it? It's
Takes
huge.
2 hands
Yeah.
almost.
Why? That's too much.
See, they have the iPad and the iPad mini, but now they're just getting closer and closer to each other
Yeah.
until they just reach the perfect fusion of iPhone and iPad.
You will have to buy bigger pants just to hold your phone.
Activision and Bungie have launched Australian servers for players of the multiplayer first-person shooter Destiny, released this week.
Very good news.
I'm very happy about that because, you know, it's for once having an MMO with Australian servers is a treat.
No. It's not necessarily an MMO. Bungie have denied that at every opportunity.
It's close enough to that we've seen in the FPS world.
But it is an FPS.
yeah,
And for that, you want as little latency as possible. Australian servers are awesome.
yeah, it's great news. Batman Arkham Knight has been delayed yet again. The new release date is June the 2nd, 2015.
It's all right. No one heard that. This isn't going out to air. This is fine.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So I can say whatever I like.
That's it. Exactly. Batman delayed again. I'm quite sad about that.
It was supposed to come out in October or November or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
I want to drive the Batmobile.
I want to drive the Batmobile.
me too.
Yeah. This is some stone cold. Moving on.
Nintendo has announced a new upgraded 3DS model to launch in Japan next month. Called the new 3DS, the handheld console will feature a second analog stick, 2 additional shoulder buttons, a screen upgrade to improve the viewing angles of the 3D effect, upgraded processing and graphical capabilities, a better camera, and increased battery life. The new 3DS will be available in 2 forms, a standard size and an XL size, and will replace the current models. The new 3DS will play all existing 3DS titles, but some future titles that take advantage of the new 3DS's upgrades will not be playable on existing 3DS consoles.
Speaking of stone cold BS, Ray, you recently bought a 2DS.
Yeah, not even 6 months ago now.
Yeah.
This would have been good information to have at the time of that purchase. This is
Definitely.
really a surprise. This is like a curveball from Nintendo. I mean, if you had a laundry list of improvements that you would make to the 3DS, they're all here.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got an extra control pad, a stick, a new shoulder buttons. It's
Better
all
battery
good.
life.
Yeah, it's all good, but the reason that people would never think they would do it is because it fragments the user base significantly. I mean, now there's going to be titles coming out in the future that I won't be able to play with my existing system. I don't like the idea of that.
I think it's a bit unfair to surprise a console, especially a console upgrade as significant as this.
Yeah.
I also made a purchase of a 3DS, like XL, the Zelda edition, and I was really excited about it because I thought a couple of years had passed. I thought the XL was the newest and best edition. I think giving a little bit of notice in 6 months or saying that there are future changes to be made or stay tuned would at least be courtesy, you know?
Yeah, I just wish that we had some Nintendo insiders that, would have warned us when we all made these purchases for the big name games that came out within the last, 6 months. So that I could have held off because like the new one, it looks so cool.
Yeah.
It's got it, as Ray says, everything that I have an issue with my 3DS has been resolved, and then some.
So basically, they're including now what they should have included at launch.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. But the only thing is that I'm not happy with is that the screen resolution is the same. Now, if you've picked up your 3DS recently and maybe had it side by side with absolutely any device you've had, it looks pretty terrible by today's standards.
To be fair, though, if you have the 3D on, that does improve that dramatically. The 3D effects do some kind of... I guess because your brain is crying, you are performing your own anti-aliasing as your eyes start to smolder and burn away.
See, I would like that to be a new feature of the new 3DS, to not have serious eye pain when using the main feature, the main selling point of the new DS.
You're young. Your body will adapt. I mean, you'll be blind at 40 because of your 3DS, but eventually, you'll develop that perfect cross-eye.
It'll make for a good, legal case in about 40 years' time for you to sue Nintendo.
I'm pretty certain you've probably got, maybe 2 or 3 years before that sets in, so enjoy.
Alrighty, I will now pay more attention to where I'm going.
Another thing I'd just like to quickly touch on is the name of the device.
Oh.
It's called the new 3DS. Now, I'm just...
God damn them!
I mean, they didn't learn their lesson with the Wii U. Everyone thinks it's just a peripheral for the original Wii. People are confused, but it's called the new 3DS. I mean, I'm just thinking about my old buddy down at my local game store. All the heartache that he's going to have ahead of him now. And when people come in asking for new 3DS games, and there's extra steps of clarification that he's going to have to make to decide what the hell they want. Yeah.
I still want one. So, Nintendo, if you are listening... all is forgiven. Please send me your beautiful-looking new console.
I want one, but I'm not going to buy one.
Yeah,
I'm
I feel
off the market for this. I think for everyone who is a 3DS owner that is perhaps contemplating buying this new one, I would posit this. Perhaps get a PlayStation Vita. It's pretty good, and there's very little crossover between titles, and if you're going to drop $200 in a handheld, it just gives you access to a pretty big library in addition to your 3DS, so that's good. And if you plan on buying a PlayStation 4 in the future, or if you already have one, the two pair together really well.
Yeah, the only conditions in which I would use my new 3DS, or if I was to get one, was if I could get a fantastic trade-in deal.
Yeah.
Because if they decide to do that, which seems to be a really good business model, I would be happy to pay an extra $50 for all the new features, but not $200. Yeah, I'd have 2 paperweights instead of 1.
Well, that's it for this week in gaming news headlines. Next up, Sean is going to give us his first impressions of Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's new game. This is Zed Games, your gaming radio program. And now we are speaking with Sean. He's our intern guy. He's going to be talking all about Heroes of the Storm, the new MOBA from Blizzard. Sean, can you first start by explaining what is a MOBA?
Right, so...
For us grandpas
a MOBA...
and grandmas out there.
Okay, well, I'll try and explain it slowly. No, a MOBA...
No sass from you, boy.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena.
Yep.
Which... Oh, thank you. So...
You asked a question!
I said correct me if I'm wrong, but I was right. Anyway, moving on. It's basically a style of game that has been copied a few times. It started off with a Warcraft 3 mod, Dota, where essentially it's a normal real-time strategy map. You've got 3 lanes, and you've got... non-player controlled creeps moving from your side of the map to the other, taking down towers and killing each other. You and a team of 4 or however many others control super-powered extra hero characters, and you essentially contribute to the battle between the NPCs to tip the tide in your favor and push towards the enemy and beat them. And it was a very successful formula. It was one of the most successful mods of Warcraft 3, and it exploded into League of Legends, which, as we know, is massively successful. It's essentially the same. League of Legends is essentially the same game as Dota, and Dota 2 is another derivative. It's essentially the same game. What we're seeing this time with Heroes of the Storm is, instead of making it more complex by adding more characters, or it's actually taking it the other way. It's simplifying it down, because one of the main issues with the whole Dota theme at the moment, Dota 2, the original Dota, was its incredibly high learning curve. because you would be dropped into the game and you'd have so many items to purchase from, so many characters, so many like strategies. It would be incredibly hard and unforgiving to pick up the game for the first time, and the games could last for half an hour to an hour or longer, depending on, because the game doesn't immediately end when you start to lose. You can lose for half an hour and know you're going to lose, and there's nothing you can do about
And
it.
the other thing is, if you're terrible and you're contributing to the fact that your team is losing, like, you're now ruining the fun for like 3 other people or however many other people are on the team.
Exactly.
And they're shouting at you as you're struggling to learn. You're like, "Hey guys, what's the control to move?" And they're like, you are ruining their lives.
It's not just shouting. I mean, think about the worst obscenities you could possibly come up with and then double that, and that's probably what's coming through.
Yeah.
I have faced all of those things. I even have my very close friends who I tried to play Dota 2 with, and yet they would become enemies in 10 minutes because I would ruin their fun. And I could never really get into Dota 2, but they're hardcore players. So when I got invited to Heroes of the Storm, I was always kind of attracted to it because one of their main selling points was that instead of having hour-long games, it would be around 15 to 20-minute games. Which changes it a lot because you're not losing for half an hour. If you lose, you just lose and go and find a new game, and you might actually have fun that time. And there's a lot of other changes like made by Blizzard to suit that kind of simplifying, more casual theme. So instead of having the same map, because in Dota and in League of Legends, or I believe there's new maps in League of Legends, but the original Dota map has been played thousands and thousands of times. Every little nook and cranny has been worked out with a strategy. What Heroes of the Storm does is, instead of having the same map, they bring in new types of maps with 2 lanes and different objectives to help the game sway more in your favor. For instance, one of my favorite maps in Heroes of the Storm, it's a typical 3-lane structure with towers on either side, and you push towards the enemy. However, every minute and a half or so, an item spawns. If your team collects that item and collects it 3 times, the enemy suddenly becomes weaker, and it's a lot easier for you to push, which really changes the style of game. It's less about pure skill, and it's less about last hitting all the enemies and getting a certain number of gold and getting a great item build. It's more about playing in a team. It's more about working with objectives and reacting well. And it's immediately a lot more fun. I could pick it up, and I was having fun in my very first game. It was great.
That's interesting because I've given League of Legends and Dota 2 a pretty fair crack. I've tried to get into it because I know the player bases are enormous, and I just wanted to see exactly what the hype was all about. And I've probably done about 12 hours in both, and both times I just came out thinking, there's too much to learn. If I want to participate in this game, I'm going to have to devote myself to it in a huge way.
Yep.
And that sort of put me off a little bit.
But there are upsides too, if you are interested in one of those games, because my friends who are incredibly invested in that game now, it's awesome for them. I see how much fun they're having, creating their team strategies, and it's great. But getting to that level is the toughest part in the first place.
You need to have a group of people who are exceptionally patient to be able to deal with you for the several dozen hours that it takes to get your head around the game.
Definitely.
And that's compounded by the fact that the community has a reputation for not being the most welcoming, open, or polite community out there. I mean, we've heard about League of Legends players being banned for just being bad sports, or for using racism, or for acting childishly. And if you look at, the forums, all of the community stuff, there's a lot of toxic behavior there. So I guess that's another reason why newcomers would be put off.
And with my experience with Heroes of the Storm, it is different. Admittedly, I haven't played it for 1,000 hours like some people have played Dota 2, but I haven't experienced that much negativity. I don't even think there's an all chat. I don't think you can talk trash to the other team, which is a very, very good sign.
Yeah.
And there's little things that Blizzard's doing to encourage more. When I say casual, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I can't immediately lock down an hour of my life for a Dota game, because if I have to leave and go to dinner or go help out someone else, I ruin the game for every single person. I ruin the game for 9 other people. But in this, there's small changes, like you get extra XP out of the game if you play with a friend. and it has great party matchmaking systems. So it's all about having a fun social experience.
So this is Blizzard, who are responsible for not just Warcraft, but StarCraft and Diablo and World of Warcraft. So these huge franchises have a great player base. This is them bringing their expertise in managing communities into this MOBA gameplay style.
Definitely. That's also one of the best parts about this game, that it's not building from a completely new universe. Heroes of the Storm uses all your favorite characters from Diablo and Warcraft and StarCraft. I was playing as Arthas beating up Diablo, which was like a fan story, and it's great fun. All the characters feel good to play as, characters that you've always wanted to play as. It's because a lot of people have wanted to play Blizzard Dota for a long time because they love those characters so much. So I think it really hits the best of both worlds with having an established fan base and also an easy to get into difficulty. The only issue I may see arising is some people saying that there may not be enough strategy. Like, you may have a bit of fun at first and then it kind of maxes out, and because there's not as much complexity as those other games, it may not have as much longevity. But my counter argument to that is the fact that Heroes of the Storm has like 5 different maps and 5 different ways of playing the game, and there's less heroes, but they're more, you can specialize them more, and there's less items, but like every single thing that they've removed from the traditional Dota format, they've added in something else to try and balance that out, which overall makes it more fun and more. This is personally just me. I'm assuming a lot of Dota 2 players who I've tried to convince to play the game are saying, why would I want to get into that? Why would I want to waste my time with a simplified version of a game that I'm already good at? And that's totally fine. And I don't think Blizzard is trying to steal the people who are earning millions of dollars from playing Dota 2. I think Blizzard is trying to get the millions of people who can't get into those games.
Just like I described before.
Exactly.
I was willing to do it, but I couldn't because of the complexity. If that bar was lowered just slightly, maybe I'd be playing Dota 2 right now.
So they're trying to get in dummies like Ray, that's what you're saying.
I think it would do a really good job at suckering in the dummies, though. Because it is free to play as well.
Free to play, right?
You know, earlier when I said that this wasn't going out live, that was a joke. You may be in trouble. I'm just...
Suckering in dummies like myself. Okay. Does that make it better?
There you go. Nice. Yes.
Yeah, it is only in technical alpha, and there are lots of changes being made. They implemented a system, Blizzard implemented a system that people got quite outraged about essentially making it a little bit pay to win because it's a free-to-play game. But they're listening to the community, and they removed that after a massive outrage. So it seems like because it's still in technical alpha, it could evolve more. It could get some of the parts that it's lacking from other games that it's trying to compete with. So it is a closed alpha, but it seems like there's a lot of videos of it on YouTube if you want to check it out. Or you can still sign up for the alpha. I was just lucky to get an invite, to be honest. And they're slowly bringing in more servers, more realms. There's an Oceanic server as well, which is great.
Is it based here in Australia, or has it just been labelled Oceanic?
Because for a while there, they locked the invites that they were sending out to certain countries, and I think they're now rolling it out to more worldwide, and I haven't had any issues with lag so far, so I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like they've at least optimized it for Oceanic play.
Fantastic. Well, that's Heroes of the Storm. And that's sort of way off on the horizon, isn't it? There's no real release date that's been announced?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's still in technical alpha. They haven't given any real release date at all, but since it's Blizzard, it'll be when it's done.
Great. Thanks very much, Sean, for bringing us those first impressions.
No worries.
That was the main theme from the game Fish Out of Water by Half Brick Studios. Before that, we heard from the Child of Light soundtrack. That one was called Aurora's Theme. Now, we are well and truly into game release season. We've had a bit of a lull during August where not many notable releases came out, but we have a huge month ahead and even bigger releases coming out over the next few months. First of which being The Sims 4, which, Lee, you have been playing on the PC?
That's right, yes. The now venerable franchise The Sims is in its 4th installment on the PC, although not really, because there have been all those other spin-off things and what have you. But this is an interesting release for Maxis. Ray, you and I are both big Sims fans.
Yeah, I played at least every base game from Sims 1 till 3.
Yeah.
And a couple of the spin-offs. I think I had to go at the medieval one.
Yep. Yes. I've been a fan of the series right from the start. I remember seeing, like, the first screenshots I saw of it. It was just, unlike anything else ever. And it was this strange gamble for EA and Maxis that paid off in a magnificent way for them. Someone's rolling in a big pile of money right now.
Oh, yeah.
So The Sims 4, it turns out it's been like 5 years since the last one, which...
It doesn't seem like that long.
No.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they're releasing, every 3 months a new expansion pack. So The Sims is always, on the back of our minds when it comes to releases because they're always churning them out.
Yeah, but it's been that long. It's been ages. The thing that you might immediately notice when you sit down to play this is that maybe not enough time has passed. Maybe this game, the changes will not be immediately obvious, but the omissions will strike you strangely. So if maybe you've not heard of the Sims games, they were originally, Will Wright wanted to make a real estate simulator. He wanted to make a game where you could build a house and position items in it and then determine how successful and efficient your house design was. And he realized the only way that he could actually do that was to have simulated people running around in it. So the people were an afterthought for his architecture design game. But that stuff took off. People were really into the people. They connected with them.
Even though the people are just doing the same thing that you might do in your everyday life, like cooking, going to the toilet, playing video games, doing karaoke, going to work.
Yeah. So it is a game where, yes, you are watching your simulated people live out their lives and forge relationships and build a career or lose a career, and people have used this framework to tell elaborate stories or to recreate television shows or do all sorts of things. It's a very, very open game design, and one that has a strong community behind it. And with The Sims 4, it seems like there may be a few things that they're attempting to monetize in the future, that where you would think that in the past the games have given you a great deal of freedom as far as creating your own content, even within the context of the game. A lot of these things have been stripped out, but we'll get to that later. So on face value, it is very much the same Sims that we know and love. The creation tools for your Sims are much more robust in that you can just grab the body part that you want to manipulate and just stretch them out. So it's very easy to recreate people. I made Razor. I made him quite easily, in fact. Gave him a little belly. You know how it is.
A little belly, huh?
Little belly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe gave him a little bit more hair because I'm a generous man.
Oh, that's nice of you, Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Quite frankly, the thought of you possessing a digital replication of me, that's basically at the your whim.
Yeah.
That you can do to whatever you want.
Yeah.
That terrifies me.
Well.
I don't think you should be allowed to do that. I shudder to think of the things that you will be inflicting upon my digital counterpart.
Let me tell you about Sim Ray. He's a lovable goofball. He's a nerd. He spends most of his time playing video games, or hacking the internet. He's very successful though as a nerd, so you've got that going for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. You are the only person in the house who can be trusted to cook without burning the kitchen down. So you're also incredibly clumsy, and you're a goofball. I have recreated you exactly.
Gotta say, yeah, that all rings pretty true.
Yeah. Yes. So it was very, very easy to make my co-hosts and give them personalities by selecting ambitions and elements that define them. You no longer have, in the previous game, you had a handful of points that you had to put into a variety of traits. Now you just pick an ambition, then you pick 3 other defining characteristics, like clumsy or evil or ambitious or these other things, and then that's all you've got, and that seems to do a pretty good job of creating your character. So the house construction tools have also seen an overhaul, and once again you can just stretch and drag to manipulate the environment, and it makes it so much easier to actually to build a house, because all you got to do is just grab a wall and go and suddenly it's a much bigger
It sounds
room.
a lot more intuitive than the old way.
Yeah, it is. Although if you do have to create an edit within that, then it gets really, really fiddly. So there's kind of a disparity between the easy new tools and then being able to get back in and get into the guts of the thing, unfortunately.
Yep.
The game itself largely plays out the same way, except it seems like they're kind of downplaying a lot of the original simulation elements. So the characters still have all of their needs that need to be dealt with. They still have, issues of hunger and hygiene and their energy and all of that stuff. But it doesn't really seem all that important. They're not like the first game. You were babysitting these dumb idiots. You were constantly having to figure out like how to get a bathroom break in between learning to do something else, or else they would die and get fired from their job. You don't have to deal with that as much anymore, which is a relief.
That's really good. I remember in the first Sims game, the very first one, it would take your sim about 45 minutes of in-game time to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And, I thought that was a bit excessive.
Yeah. So they've taken out a lot of the micromanagement, but I'm not sure that they've really filled that time in with anything as valuable. Your Sims will have whims, which are basically tiny little desires. They almost count as quests, and I think that they did this because there were people who played the original games and didn't really know what to do, because it was so open-ended. So now you've got your Sim will have a handful of little thoughts, that they want to do this thing, they want to do that. And in the previous games, they had a similar system in place, but that was hooked up to something of value. So you felt like by letting your Sim do the thing that they wanted to do, by pursuing their whim, that was improving their life. Whereas here, it's just a bunch of tiny little quests in the corner that you fulfill for no reason, but you want to do it anyway because the game is telling you that you should do this stuff. And it feels like this is an artifact from an iOS game. It feels very Kim Kardashian's click on the thing, The Simpsons game, where you're just there clicking because the game wants you to click. And it bugs me that they haven't properly filled it out in that way, because I want more out of it.
One of the big things about The Sims 3, which came out, 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
One of the most exciting elements about that was the fact that the entire neighborhood was available for you in sort of one setting. Like, you didn't have to load, and you didn't have to sit through a loading screen if you wanted to see your Sim go from his place to the next door neighbor's place, or even to work or to the shopping district. Now, I've heard that they've removed this for The Sims 4.
Yeah, they have. They've stripped it right back, so that you have the immediate neighborhood that you're living in, the little cul-de-sac that you're in. You can see people walking around there, and there might be a garden or a park nearby. But beyond that, if you want to go anywhere else, like in the earlier games, you will have to transport your Sim solo and then take them off to the gym, and they can only go to the gym then, and then you have to move them from there. So it's a bit, it makes the game feel a lot smaller, which is quite disappointing after the open world that you had in the previous game. That was a magnificent feature, and this does feel like a bit of a departure. But I think that at the same time, one of the reasons that they took that out was because in the previous game, as a result of that open world thing, you couldn't actually have multiple households, and a lot of people, The Sims is about having that, those multiple narratives and those a whole bunch of different dolls' houses to play in, and so that is definitely back in place. You do have multiple houses going on at once, so not a great trade-off really. I wish that they had kept the open world feature because it was fantastic, and it made the game holistic across the various aspects of gameplay. But what can you do? One thing that they have added in for this one, and this is the big, I think this is their selling point, is that the Sims now have emotional states that affect the way that they live their lives. So if you have a Sim who is creative, they will become inspired by being in certain surroundings, and then that will change the way that they can interact with different things in their environment and improve the success of them doing certain things.
Okay, I think in The Sims 3 there are only probably around 2 or 3 states that your Sim could be in. They could be happy, hungry, or they could have just wet themselves.
That's, yes. So here...
So there's more depth here now.
Yeah. So,
that's great.
For example, in the Zed Games house that I made, Jody wants to be a writer and is now, in fact, he's at the point where I think he's a feature writer for a blog. And he spends a lot of time in his bedroom surrounded by fine art because he is a snob as well, so he needs to be surrounded by beautiful things.
Okay.
Writing, and when he's inspired, the books that he writes are of a higher quality than the other books, and he can sell those to a publisher for more money. So to balance that out, Sim Candy is hot-headed and will burst into a rage without any real provocation, just wakes up furious. So again, I have perfectly recreated my fellow Zed Games co-hosts.
And you told me about how you recreated me earlier.
Yes.
Of course, the lovable goofball, plays a lot of video games. Yeah.
That's you.
Did you make a virtual version of yourself, Lee?
You know what? In previous games, I was always making versions of myself, and I thought that I've hit a point in my life where if I make a Sim me, his lifestyle is going to, at least in the early stages of the game, be lower than my current one, and that's kind of depressing. So I decided that instead of being narcissistic, I would just be weird and make my friends and see if I could,
That's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
No, you're fine.
Yeah?
It's all good.
I'm in good hands?
You're in very good hands.
Because, once again, I have to express concern about what you're going to do to me behind closed doors in the privacy of your study, Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's understandable, Razor, but really you should be worrying about what your Sim is doing in the privacy of his own study when I'm not looking.
Okay, so we've been talking about The Sims 4. Now, just to wrap this up, can you give us some overall thoughts? Of course, The Sims 4, this is just like the base game. Of course, we've seen they will be expanding on it massively over the next few years with a bunch of expansion packs. But do they have a solid foundation now?
I think that the recent additions, the ease with which you can use the creation tools, the emotional states, the fact that your Sims have a great many more ways to interact with objects in their world, like all of that stuff makes it really fun to play and to watch, and it keeps you coming back for more. But I think that this title lacks some of the depth and complexity of the previous ones in the series, and for me, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be addicted to it, because rest assured, I have been addicted to this game, even though, knowing that, on some level, that it's never going to be the same as it was with the previous games, and yet still I was neglecting my own needs as a human being so that I could make sure that my Sim versions of my friends were successful. So definitely that the compulsion to keep playing exists.
Yes.
And if you are a Sims fan, I think that you will find yourself once again addicted if disappointed in some of the strange omissions, but charmed even more so by the emotional connection that you can make with your weird and wacky Sims.
Fantastic. Well, that's The Sims 4, which you can get in a box, or you can buy it online via Origin for PC and Mac, I believe, right, Lee?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's going to bring us to the end of this week's episode of Zed Games. Thank you very much, beautiful listener, for your attention. We'll be back next week at the same time. Next week, I think we'll be discussing Destiny, which is out now for the 360, Xbox One, PS3, and PS4. I know Alana's been playing that as well, so we might have a big chat about whether or not that game lives up to the hype, which is definitely considerable at this point. You've definitely seen some marketing material for that game. So we're going to cut through all that crap and let you know if you've got an actually decent game at the core of that. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.